Hi, and welcome to VIBEZ Daily. This is a daily devotional curated by VIBEZ Church to help you practice the way of Jesus and be all that God has called you to be. You have joined us for our year-long series titled Devoted. Acts 2:42 tells us that the followers of Jesus were devoted to the apostles' teaching, to fellowship, to breaking of bread, and to prayer. This podcast was created to provide context and commentary for what you read each day. Just before our friends begin discussing today's reading, we want to invite you not only for fellowship, but for prayer as well. We have created the VIBEZ Daily Chat Group to offer you fellowship and a community where you can state your observations, ask questions about the reading or the podcast. You can join us by downloading the VIBEZ Church app in your favorite app store. Click Join the Conversation and join us today. And finally, we hope that you can join us for prayer. Prayer happens Monday through Friday, and more information on that can be found on the VIBEZ Church app under prayer. Now, let's begin our conversation on today's reading.
Yo, welcome back to the VIBEZ Daily podcast. It is day 145. We are so excited to have you back with us as we are in our year-long series we have titled Devoted, where we are journeying through the entire Bible from Genesis, ultimately through Revelation, but today find ourselves here at the end of Nehemiah. By we, I mean myself and my wife, Victoria, who's with us this week as we bring the book of Nehemiah to a close. And man, it's been quite a journey through Ezra and Nehemiah as they have been on this mission to return back to Jerusalem, rebuild the city, the temple itself, the walls, the people. Yeah. I mean, they're rebuilding everything and everyone kind of in that process, despite even some opposition and some adversaries along the way. And so we left off at the end of chapter 9 with really the people reestablishing a covenant with the Lord after reciting their history and kind of where they have been, confessing their sin and acknowledging the fact that, man, they are slaves in the land that God promised them. Because of that, in view of all this, is the way that my version reads, the end of chapter 9. They're making this binding agreement, this covenant. And so in chapter 10, though, they kind of start with, these are all the names of the people. They're assigning a name. It's real like Declaration of Independence. Like these are all John Hancock and everybody else is putting their names here on this document. Man, what sticks out to you in chapter 10 as we get this list of names and kind of some other things here?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. Like, it ended with chapter 9. Like, this is like sealed documents, right? The names of their princes or Levites and the priests. And then here in chapter 10, they kind of like give those names who they sealed their names on there, with Nehemiah at the top of the list, right? Like, Nehemiah is there, and we see some of these individuals we've been talking about. But then, like they said, the rest of the people like are in this covenant with the Lord. And I was talking yesterday, kind of like, oh, we just keep making new covenants and breaking them as a people. But as some of the things that they were saying was jumping out to me, like verse 30, like, we will not give our daughters to people of the land or take their daughters for our sons. And, you know, this thing that we were in 32, take on ourselves, obligation of like giving a third part of the shekel. What was your says? Because your CSB says it so much better.
You said which verse is this?
32, like the money part.
So we will not to give an eighth of an ounce of silver.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Because mine's in shekels. Yeah. The CSB here. Like, come on, make it plain. But for the service of the house of our God. So like, yeah, like make sure we're providing. And jumping down to like verse 39, it's like this last sentence there is like, of the chapter, we will not neglect the house of our God. And so some of these things that they're like declaring to me is like, okay, let's do it, guys. Like, let's commit. Let's do it. Let's not waver. Well, we see that they waver eventually, but you know, I like the fervor, and it always feels good though. It always feels good, like, to know that they know what they're supposed to be doing, right? They read this book of the law. Some were trying to cry because of the things that they heard, and they were trying to encourage them, like, no, this is a day of rejoicing. Like, when you hear these convictions, and now it's like, it's on us to just make this covenant do what we know it's supposed to be doing. Yeah.
No, I think that last part is the part that I just thought was so key, right? Like we're not committing anything new. We're committing to what we should have been committed to in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Like we're doing what we already knew was the right thing to do, but we're just promising we actually gonna do it this time.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like what it is. And I do think that's interesting because it's like, again, the instructions were always there. The law was always clear. I'm not asking anything new of you. I'm asking the same thing I've always asked of you. It's kind of what I feel like God is emphasizing here. And, you know, to them, they're like, okay, I get it. Like, we're going to do those things. And so, yeah, I don't know. To me, it just, not just challenges, but just encourages me to kind of consider, like, I have the law here, right? Like, I have the instructions here. Like, He's not asking me to do anything he didn't ask somebody before me to do or before them to do. Like, it's the same stuff. It's just, can we just commit to it, right? And I have the instructions and know all of what to do. Well, yeah.
It's so hard sometimes, like, because I might be focused on doing this and then, like, let that slide. So, like, for me, it's just like, Lord, help me keep it all together.
Yeah.
And like you say, he's not asking too much of us because at the end of the day, he just wants our hearts, right? Like, he has the rules and the laws, but like at the end of the day, like I feel like this last sentence of like we will not neglect the house of our God, it's also like a heart posture thing that like I'm always going to remember the Lord. My heart's gonna be for the Lord and I'm gonna do for him, which is like what he wants from us, like even right now. So even though it seems like there's a lot in this Bible that we're supposed to be abiding by, like at the end of the day, like I think in the New Testament we kind of made it like it's a heart thing. Which we see in the Old Testament time and time again about humility and loving the Lord. But yeah, sorry, I jumped in on you.
Not an issue at all. Yeah, I think that's again a good, just big picture point for us even understanding kind of in our own lives as we do our best to try to apply what we read. Because I think there's definitely some nuggets to learn from it. But chapter 11 kind of goes into now like who's living where. They kind of need some people to live in Jerusalem specifically, while others will kind of stay in their town. And so yeah, it kind of speaks to that. And I don't know, anything you think was interesting as some volunteer to stay in Jerusalem while others kind of get to stay in their own town? Anything you thought was interesting here in chapter 11?
Yeah, I think to me it's interesting that this came after the covenant, because what it showed to me was there were like leaders and Levites, right? Like that were spread throughout the land.
Okay.
And what I remember in terms of Ezra's instructions that he received from the king was like, yeah, make sure you have like judges and, you know, leaders who are going throughout the land who is teaching your God, teaching the people the rules of your God and the ways of your God. And so I feel like I see that here now in chapter 11, where the Levites are being like spread out to different towns. And the goal should be here that like, yes, these are the ones who are going to help keep the people in line, right? Like the mission is to continue to teach the law, continue to keep it at the forefront of the people's minds. And you said make sure that you're receiving the tithes from the people, because remember the Levites are supposed to receive the tithes from people and then bring it to the storehouses, right? So like they're supposed to be doing all of these things to make sure that the whole land is acting accordingly. And so it's good to see that they at least tried to set this up to be, you know, like even in the day of Moses, right, where they had Levites stationed in like the towns of refuge, right, so that people could flee to and stuff. So
it's good. I mean, I think it kind of sticks out to me is I don't know why, like when I look at these Levites roles kind of starting in 22, I don't know, just like this mandate that there are like singers in the like it's like the king's law that there's always singers daily. Like I don't know why, it's just so interesting to me that like that's something they feel was like necessary and mandatory. And I mean they're descendants of Asaph, which I love that they like go this guy is like son of, just to get to Asaph, right? Like, but
they're legit singers,
right? It's in their blood, you know. It's the Winans family,
exactly.
But like, yeah, I thought it was so interesting that, like that was like mandatory, you know. And I guess just of all the things that just stuck with the people of Israel in their roles and responsibilities, that like singing was something that kind of had such a high value, not just even of the people, but of the king itself, right? Because this seems like this is like a law that comes from even the king of Persia, essentially, that it was required that this happens in Jerusalem.
Yeah. And as we've been reading, I feel like they keep mentioning time and time again, like, at the command of David, right? Like, you know, the songs, you know, that we're going to do this at the command of David. So they even keep going back to, like, David's the reason why, part of the reason why we're having singers, and like you said, this king as well. So, yeah. Thank you. I have Maverick City music, so that's what I'm going to keep, you know, in my daily worship.
You said Maverick City?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And my Tasha Cobbs.
Yeah.
You all love me some Tasha.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. I don't know. I can't. It's a rotation of people that design
yeah,
that day.
You be sending me all types of stuff midday, YouTube links.
Yeah, I'm saying there's a lot of good music out there.
There is. I'm not throwing no shade.
Yeah.
I'm saying I just can't keep up with you. I go-to playlist, and it's been the go-to for like 5 years.
5.
Hey now.
We've been married 10.
Hey now, sir.
Almost. Yeah.
Sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, just 5. Okay, well, chapter 12, and I know we're kind of moving a little quicker through this because it's just a lot of names and stuff, so it's not a whole lot of like narrative that's happening. But chapter 12 kind of continues with some names for some of the Levites to go up with Zerubbabel, and kind of go into them and give us, I don't know if there's anything in particular in 22 that jumps out to you, but the second half we also get like this dedication of the wall. But just before we get to that, before they kind of dedicate the wall, was there anything else in 12 and kind of some of those names that just you thought was significant?
Yeah, you know what? It's so interesting in this writings to me is like, I'm just trying to figure out, is some of this like chapter 10 and chapter 11 like just the chronological part that this author has inserted, and then we get back to Nehemiah's words? Because like, I feel like in chapter 12 we get some more like eyes again, like you know, like, you know, and die. And I was like, okay, this is Nehemiah talking again. So to me, I think that kind of stuck out to me. It was just like, okay, like, who was talking when?
Yeah.
But yeah, it did stick out to me that like that we still have these like people who came up with Zerubbabel, that he's mentioned again, these Levites and all these names, and that they had it's like I mentioned a little bit ago, that like they had the praise and giving thanks according to the commandments of David, the man of God, watch by watch. That like that's a consistent thing that we are continuing to see.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of singing and praising in this book.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of singing and praising. Again, there's more. Once you get to this dedication, like when they dedicate, there's a lot of singing and praising. In this book, that's all they do. That is their response. They sing and they praise.
And I love it though that like it didn't have to look like it did before, and it wasn't like luxurious.
Yeah,
they even like have houses built, right? Like I mentioned earlier, but yet there was still so much praise in their hearts for what God was doing. I mean, the fact that we're pretty much still slaves, but we're not enslaved like we were, and this is a fulfillment of God's prophecy, and we've seen that God is with us because he's safely traveled us back. He's kept us from all these enemies around us. We're allowed to even do half the wall, and lay the foundation to the temple and start to have some festivals. Like, they are really like relishing in what they do have. It reminds me, like, we had conversations recently about like the Philippians 4, verse 6, like, well, we're just not going to be anxious. We're just going to focus our minds on the things that are good and lovely and that are pure. And I think it does help with this whole feeling of, not the crying of what it's not, but the rejoicing of what it is.
Yeah. Do you think that, like, this group of people, in a sense, like, appreciated Jerusalem more than, like, those who were originally there? Like, do you think that there's almost this appreciation of, like, what was lost and returned more so than even, like, what they had? If that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, there seems to be, I know that when Solomon dedicates a temple, there's a lot of singing and praising and responding in that too. But yeah, I wonder if there's just a different level of, like, now that we've been without it for so long, we didn't realize what we were missing. I wonder if there's a different level of appreciation from this group. And, I don't know if we necessarily get that insight. There's not much that kind of compares the two. But, I don't know, I just think about, I guess, our own lives and just feel like it's usually how it goes, man. Yeah. It's usually like when you first have it, you don't quite appreciate what you have until you lose it, And then, like, man, like, I know I was missing out on something, right? And then you get it, and then when you have it again, you cherish it a different way.
Yeah.
Right, kind of thing. So, I don't know. I just looking at their response, I just wonder if there was an element of that for that people.
Yeah, I wonder too. It's a good thought.
Yeah. Anything else on kind of on the dedication of the wall?
Yeah, I said, so again, we're back in, like, first person for Nehemiah speaking, I'm assuming, and the people that he's bringing and all the people, like you said, lots of instruments and lots of singing. But, to that point, the last thing I had on the dedication of the wall part and this rejoicing part as you were speaking of is this verse 43.
Yeah.
Where it was like, and it's at the end of that towards the end, or actually the middle of that verse, it says, "For God had made them rejoice with great joy." And I was just like, yeah, like, let's remember that, like, this is God doing this. He's the one creating all these things, even for them to be joyful about, and giving them a joyful heart about it too.
Yeah. That's good. I actually thought when you were bringing it up, you were going to refer to just the women and children also being a part of the party.
That part too.
They celebrated them. And then, like, I don't know, I just see the second reference, the first one being in Ezra after they laid a foundation, to this, like, rejoicing being heard far away. Right? Because in Ezra, I think that's chapter 3, that after they lay the foundation, there was some that were crying, most of them are shouting, rejoicing.
Yeah.
But that, like, from afar, you couldn't tell the difference between the others because the shouting was so much louder than the crying. But, like, just this again, it's so great that even far away, people kind of hear what's happening. So, good. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know if there's anything there at the end of 12 that you thought was interesting, kind of with, some of what they're offering to these Levites to kind of make sure they got what they need. But yeah, chapter 13 kind of goes into some further things that Nehemiah does to kind of get people back on track, and in the response to the book of Moses that's read. What jumps out to you here in the beginning of 13?
So this law, what they found was interesting. They're like, no Ammonite and Moabites should ever enter the assembly of God, just based on history. That's because then, with Balaam was a mess. And hired Balaam. Although Balaam did not curse them, he blessed them. that like they all like immediately separated themselves, from people of foreign descent. But I think it's interesting that they like straight go into this story about how this priest has allowed this Ammonite, I believe he was an Ammonite, right, live in the house of God. And so when Nehemiah finds out about it, like he goes berserk. Like he is like,
it doesn't tell you his name in yours.
Tobiah?
Yeah, it's my verse 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Is he an Ammonite though?
I don't know, but isn't Tobiah who's been his adversary this whole time? Right? It was Sanballat, Tobiah, and...
Oh, I thought I recognized that name.
Yeah, Tobiah has
Reckless.
been a thorn in Nehemiah's side.
Reckless.
Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem. Tobiah has been a thorn in Nehemiah's side. So I'm like, yeah, so Nehemiah probably like, this man is still here. He will not die.
And he gave him a house, like a room in the temple.
Yeah.
Wow. That just dawned on me that he was that same Tobiah.
Yeah. He will not
I'm mad
go
for
away.
you, Nehemiah. I'm hot now too, cause
Yeah.
the Bible wilding.
Yeah, he wasn't even there, right? He's back with
the
Xerxes.
king.
So like, this happens while he's away, but like, yeah. So then, so he's like, I gotta go again.
Listen,
I need
back.
some vacation days, Doc. I need some PTO. It might just a leave of absence, but that's what it sounds like. So I gotta put in a sick day.
Hold my cup. Hold my cup. I gotta go, y'all.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, that's wild. I thought it was mostly because he was of, I believe it was in one of my commentaries that like Tobiah was an Ammonite, and so that they would have to re-cleanse the temple and everything, because he's been in there. But then, like you said, not only is Tobiah in the house of the Lord, and he, Nehemiah goes and throws out all the furniture. Like this gotta go. Like we gotta purify all of this again. Like this gotta go. Yeah. But he also found out like there were empty rooms in the temple, probably because the Levites weren't getting paid. Yeah. They probably went back to their homes, right? Yeah. And it's verse 11. Why is the house of God forsaken? And it's so crazy that we just read in chapter 11, verse 39. We will not neglect the house of our God.
Yeah, he go away for a little bit, man.
It's like when
just to go back.
Mama leaves just for
a
little bit. We wildin'.
Yeah, it's just like you said. It's so interesting because they go through like Tobiah is ultimately why he comes back, because he hears about what's going on there. But you said he finds people. He finds the house of God being neglected, people working on the Sabbath.
Yeah.
Right, like down in verse 15, they're treading the wine press on the Sabbath.
Trading
all
with
kind of
foreigners.
goods are being bought, right? Like literally, it's like, man, like I go away, and all the things that we just promised we wouldn't do, y'all out here doing.
Y'all doing it. To the fact that like now I gotta give y'all curfew. Listen, verse 19, it's like y'all grounded. I'm closing the gates before the Sabbath. And the gates gonna be shut so that y'all not tempted to go out here and defile the Sabbath. I'm like, yeah, this is like parenting 101. These sound like children.
Yeah. It's so, I mean, again, I appreciate his willingness to go above and beyond to like help them live out what they said they would do. And like I said, I have to admit, man, that's a challenge. It's a challenge for me. Like, I want to be like, man, look, it's between you and God, whatever y'all gonna do. But like, I know, I wonder if there's more that, as leaders that you could do to say, unacceptable. Like, we're not going to tolerate this. And I will go this far whatever this far is, right? To help you avoid that sin.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
so Nehemiah went far. He
Yeah.
started beating folk. Like the fact, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to envision this. The fact in 25, because it says like some people had intermarried, right? Once again, we will not give our women.
yeah, these are literally all the things they just said they were going to do.
I feel like they
right?
laid it out for a reason, because here they did all these things. So now, not only have they intermarried, but the children don't even speak the language of Judah. They only speak the language of these foreign lands, of these foreign people that they have like intermingled with. 25, he says, I confronted them and cursed them and beat some of them and pulled out their hair.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. He went to great lengths. You like, whatever it takes. I'm like, yeah. Nehemiah, he took it there.
Yeah, no, he was hot. I mean, you see it? Did you see his other adversary end up involved?
Yeah,
right?
Down here in 28.
Yeah, like his high priest has become a son-in-law to Sanballat. Like Tobiah and Sanballat done made their way into this. You know Nehemiah is hot, man.
Therefore, I chased him from me. Listen,
Nehemiah
28.
is hot.
He came back. And I think that's the thing that hurts, right? Like, these are the leaders. Y'all are the priests. Y'all the ones who signed your names on this covenant.
Yeah.
These sealed documents. Like,
Yeah.
what in the world?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It is crazy. Like, I feel, like you said, I feel for Nehemiah because, he's trying. And I think this last verse does read in the way that you, in my opinion, right? That, like, remember me, my God, with favor. Like, Lord, just please. Just remember that I tried. I did my best.
I did my best. He does it in verse 14 too. Remember me, oh God.
Yeah. I mean, he also tells us, remember them too. Like, remember what they did for defiling them, right? In verse 29. Like, don't forget what they did. But, like, yeah, I do. I feel for him, man. And I'm just like, this guy, he did his best. His best. Like I said, he'd go back to work, come home from work, and it's just like, this whole house a mess.
I'm about to say, the house is destroyed.
Dishes in the sink.
Listen.
There's food left on the table.
I wish I would say, they didn't even make it to the sink. Dishes still on the table, on the couch. Evidence of you eating on the couch.
Right. Shoes in the middle of the hallway and the floor.
All your toys out.
It's a straight mess.
You ain't bathed, you ain't done nothing. You ain't brushed your teeth like I asked you to. You ain't done nothing.
Mess. Worse yet, look like y'all threw a party in here.
I'm about to say, and all the neighborhood kids up in here.
Yeah, I can see the red Solo cups on the floor. Finding empty bottles. All
them kids I told you can't play with. They up in here. I mean, you went to college. You on college level. I'm on.
Well, I didn't make my way up. I was thinking about like younger, but then I was just like, nah, some of the stuff they was doing.
This is house party. It's giving house party.
Some of the stuff they was doing is like,
they was wilding.
It's not just little child behavior.
Nah.
They intermarry and they was wilding.
It's wild. You right.
So I was just like, this is
crazy. Giving frat row.
That's crazy. It's crazy. So again, I had to give it to him, but I don't know. I will say, after all of that, it's just such an interesting ending that it's just kind of like, I came in, I regulated, God remember me with favor. Please.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done. The end. Close the book.
Yeah, there's no hope. There's no extra hope here. Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, where did we, which is probably why Chronicles, right, in the Jewish Bible comes, like, after some of these. Because it's kind of like, where's the hope? And I feel like Chronicles really tried, the author really tried to like paint the beautiful picture here and give some hope. Like, yes, don't forget, there is a Messiah that's coming. This isn't the end. It doesn't look great because at the end of Nehemiah, I'm just like, geesh.
Yeah.
What did we do all this work for?
Came all the way back, rebuilt the temple, rebuilt the wall. Had this big old ceremony, covenant. Everybody came to the altar, gave their life. People falling out, baptized and laying hands on people. Demons is being cast out and delivered. Deliverance ministry is going on. And
we ate good.
Had a straight good repast,
Not the repast
grocery store
deal.
chicken and some green beans. You know what I'm saying? Potato salad and rolls. We had the whole meal going. We was good. We was living good, man. It was on a high.
Oh, I'm so weak.
I go back to work and I come back
next week.
It's a mess. The whole church. Church out here doing what they want to.
That hurts. It hurts.
Lord, have mercy. Find favor on me, Lord.
Listen, at least
I'm out. I'm going back to work. I'm going back to Artaxerxes. Just have favor on me.
I'm about to go back to sip on this wine. This fine wine.
It's your people.
For the king.
It's your people, Lord. Remember them. Remember me. Okay?
Yes.
Remember that they defiled you. Remember that I was faithful. I tried.
Listen.
Have favor on me, Lord.
Yeah. Well, that's where we are.
Yeah, I mean that's how he ended.
How he ended.
I ain't got nothing left.
Yeah, no, but like you said, there's hope. There's hope. Jesus comes eventually.
Is there? I don't know yet.
Jesus comes eventually.
I gotta keep reading the book. I gotta see what happens next.
He does. Jesus comes next eventually. It's gonna take quite a bit of time.
Yeah, I'm about to say because we got
a good 400 solid years, but he does come.
Yeah, I mean, it's about to get real depressing next week. So, we got Job coming in. And
yeah, no, we're going to be all over the place.
Yeah, it's going to get a little crazy. But, all right. That being said, appreciate you guys joining us this week through Ezra and Nehemiah. We'll pick up in Esther next week. We'll cover that brief book and then jump into Job as well. So really excited to continue to go through. I need to do my count again. We're at 15 books now. How many books have we done? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah. 16 books down.
Come with it.
50 left.
Yeah.
It's okay,
but these are the long. I mean, we're about to get to some more long.
There are some really long ones. Psalms is long. Jeremiah is long. Isaiah is long. But there's some short ones in there. You still Hosea. Got. Yeah, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum. Those are all pretty short. When you get to the New Testament, I mean, Philemon's like one book. I mean, one chapter. Titus, Jude is one chapter. Yeah. So there's some real short ones in there too. So I know I said 50 books, but it's not that bad. You can see from the thickness of the Bible.
We're getting through this.
We're about a third of the way there.
All right, y'all.
We still got the rest of the year.
All right, y'all.
So appreciate you guys joining us again. Hope this is helpful. And again, along with your reading. But we look forward to seeing you guys next week as we continue. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for the VIBEZ Daily podcast. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or download our favorite, the VIBEZ Church app. Visit vibes.church/devoted for additional episodes, notes, details, and the latest merch. Join us next time as we continue our journey through the Bible. Take good care.